There's nothing quite like family, the people who've known us our whole lives, who've seen us at our best and, yes, sometimes at our worst. But let's be honest, even with all that love, family can also be the source of some of the sharpest criticism we'll ever face. Maybe it's a comment about how you're spending your retirement, or the way you're raising your grandkids, or even something as simple as your choice of hobbies. And no matter how many years of wisdom we've got under our belts, those words can still sting. So today, I want to talk about something important: how to handle criticism from family without losing your confidence. Because here's the thing, you've earned the right to live life on your terms. You've worked hard, you've learned lessons, and you don't need anyone making you doubt yourself. But handling criticism gracefully isn't about shutting people out or ignoring them, it's about protecting your peace while staying open to the relationships that matter. Now, I'm not saying this is always easy. Family dynamics can be complicated, especially when history and emotions are involved. But over the years, I've found a few strategies that really help, ways to take those comments without letting them shake your self-worth. And today, I'd love to share them with you. Let's start with the first and maybe most important step: understanding where the criticism is coming from. You see, when family members criticize us, it's rarely just about whatever they're pointing out in the moment. Often, there's something deeper going on. Maybe they're worried about you, maybe they're projecting their own fears, or maybe they just don't realize how their words land. Take my friend Margaret, for example. Her daughter kept making comments about how she shouldn't be traveling so much at her age. At first, Margaret felt hurt, like her daughter didn't trust her judgment. But when she sat down and really talked with her, she realized it wasn't about the trips at all. Her daughter was afraid of losing her, of something happening while she was far from home. The criticism came from love, even if it didn't sound like it. So the next time a family member says something that feels like a jab, take a breath and ask yourself, what's behind this? Are they coming from a place of concern? Are they repeating patterns from the past? Sometimes, just recognizing that can take the sting out of their words. Now, once you've considered where the criticism is coming from, the next step is to decide what to do with it. Not all criticism is created equal, right? Some of it might actually have a kernel of truth, something you can learn from. But a lot of it? Well, that's just noise. The key is knowing the difference. Here's how I like to think about it. Imagine you're holding a sieve. When criticism comes your way, you get to sift it. The useful bits, the things that might actually help you grow or see something new, those stay. The rest? You let them fall right through. You don't have to carry them. For instance, if your son says, "Mom, you're not eating as healthy as you used to," and you know he's right, maybe you've been skipping veggies lately, that's something you can choose to take on board. But if he follows it up with, "You're just not taking care of yourself like you should," that might be more about his own worries than your reality. You get to let that part go. And that leads me to the third point, setting gentle but firm boundaries. Now, I know the word boundaries can sound a little formal, especially with family. But really, it's just about letting people know what's okay to say, and what's not. You don't have to be confrontational. You can say something like, "I know you mean well, but when you say things like that, it makes me feel like my choices aren't respected." Or even, "I appreciate your concern, but this is something I've thought through." The trick is to say it kindly but with confidence. Because here's the truth, you don't owe anyone endless explanations for how you live your life. Now, we've covered a lot already: understanding the roots of criticism, sifting through what's useful, and setting those important boundaries. But there's more to explore, especially when it comes to keeping your confidence strong even when the comments keep coming. So let's keep going, because you deserve to feel unshakable in who you are, no matter what anyone else says. You know, one of the biggest challenges when dealing with criticism, especially from family, is that it can sneak up on you when you least expect it. One minute, you're enjoying a nice family dinner, and the next, someone makes an offhand remark about how you shouldn't be living alone or how you're too old to pick up a new hobby. And just like that, the joy of the moment fades, replaced by that familiar sting of self-doubt. But here's what I've learned over the years: confidence isn't about never feeling hurt, it's about not letting that hurt define you. So let's talk about how to keep standing tall, even when the criticism hits close to home. The next step is to practice self-validation. Now, that might sound like a fancy term, but it's really just about reminding yourself of your own worth without needing anyone else's approval. Think about it. How many times have you made a decision, felt good about it, and then let someone else's opinion shake you? It happens to all of us. But here's the thing, you've lived a long, full life. You've made countless decisions, big and small, and you've learned from every single one. That wisdom doesn't disappear just because someone else doesn't see it. So the next time a family member questions your choices, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, do I still believe in what I'm doing? If the answer is yes, then that's all that matters. You don't need to convince them. You don't need their permission. You can simply say, I understand you see it differently, but this is what works for me. And then, carry on. Because your opinion of yourself is the one that counts most. Now, let's talk about responding instead of reacting. There's a big difference between the two. Reacting is when we let emotions take over, maybe we snap back, or we shut down, or we spend days replaying the conversation in our heads. Responding, on the other hand, is about choosing how we engage. It's the difference between saying, you always criticize me, and saying, I'd love it if we could talk about this without judgment. Here's a little trick that's helped me. When criticism comes your way, imagine pressing an invisible pause button. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a moment to process what was said and how you want to handle it. You might even say, I need a little time to think about that. There's no rule that says you have to respond right away. In fact, slowing down often leads to much better conversations, and it keeps you from saying something you might regret later. And finally, let's talk about choosing your battles. Not every criticism deserves your energy. Some comments are like passing clouds, they'll drift away if you let them. Others might need addressing, especially if they keep coming up. But here's the key, you get to decide which ones are worth engaging with. For example, if your brother makes a one-time joke about your new haircut, you might shrug it off. But if your sister repeatedly questions your ability to manage your own finances, that might be a conversation worth having. Ask yourself, is this affecting my well-being? Is it damaging our relationship? If the answer is yes, then it's okay to speak up. If not, sometimes the best response is a smile and a change of subject. Now, we've covered some powerful tools, self-validation, responding with intention, and choosing which battles to fight. But there's still more to explore, especially when it comes to rebuilding confidence if it's been shaken. So let's keep going, because you deserve to feel as strong and capable as you truly are. You know, as we get older, we realize just how precious our peace of mind really is. We've spent decades caring for others, raising children, supporting spouses, looking after aging parents. Now, in this chapter of life, we've earned the right to protect our emotional well-being with the same tenderness we've always shown others. And that's exactly what handling family criticism with confidence is all about, not building walls, but setting up healthy guardrails that allow love to flow while keeping unnecessary hurt at bay. Let's talk about one of the most powerful tools in your confidence toolkit, reframing the narrative. Here's what I mean by that. When criticism comes your way, you actually have the power to rewrite how it affects you. Instead of hearing you're so stubborn about your ways, you can choose to hear I have strong convictions after a lifetime of experience. Rather than absorbing you shouldn't be driving at your age, you can remind yourself I'm a capable adult who knows my own limits. This isn't about denying reality, it's about refusing to let someone else's limited perspective define you. My neighbor Frank taught me this lesson beautifully. His kids were constantly telling him he was too old for his woodworking hobby. Instead of internalizing that, he started saying, I'm actually just old enough to have mastered my craft. That simple shift in language made all the difference in how he felt about himself, and eventually, his family came to admire his dedication rather than question it. Now, let's address something crucial, what to do when criticism has already shaken your confidence. Maybe there's been a particularly harsh comment that stuck with you, or perhaps years of subtle remarks have slowly eroded your self-assurance. First, please know this is completely normal. We're wired to care what our loved ones think. But here's the good news, confidence isn't a finite resource. It can always be rebuilt. Start by making a simple list. Call it your evidence of competence list. Write down all the challenges you've overcome, the wise decisions you've made, the times you've shown resilience. Keep this somewhere handy for those moments when doubt creeps in. Remember, you're not just anyone, you're someone with decades of proof that you can handle life's complexities. Another powerful technique is to create confidence-boosting rituals. This could be anything from repeating positive affirmations in the morning to spending time with friends who appreciate you exactly as you are. Maybe it's wearing an outfit that makes you feel like your best self before family gatherings. These small acts serve as armor against criticism, not by blocking out your family, but by reinforcing your own self-worth before you even walk into the room. Finally, let's talk about the gift of perspective. When you reach our stage of life, you've gained something truly precious: the long view. You've seen trends come and go. You've watched family dynamics shift over decades. You've witnessed how time changes people's opinions. That means you can look at today's criticism and ask yourself, how much will this matter in a year? In 5 years? Often, you'll find that what feels sharp in the moment will fade with time, while your core sense of self remains. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought: handling criticism from family isn't about winning arguments or changing their minds. It's about preserving your right to enjoy this precious time of life on your own terms. You've spent a lifetime learning who you are. Don't let anyone make you forget that now. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. What strategies have worked for you when dealing with family criticism? Your experience could be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today. And if this video resonated with you, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps us create more content that supports vibrant, confident living at every age. Remember, growing older isn't about becoming less, it's about becoming more truly yourself than ever before. Here's to living these years with the confidence and joy you've so richly earned. Until next time, take care of that wonderful self of yours. You're doing just fine.